Cool, yeah, so Four Nerds episode 20.
Yeah,
20!
Should we do something special for 20?
No.
No?
Talk
Okay,
about stuff?
sounds good.
Gotcha.
20 is
You guys,
chump change.
you guys haven't finished the cooking show special.
Somebody needs to send me his files.
This is now a cooking
I'll send the
podcast. Congratulations, we made it.
Trying to do a live show, by the way, not easy. Like,
It was really hard.
Don't have the camera
technical
equipment.
requirements for like doing any kind of live recording.
Oh, yeah.
When like you don't have the cameras, the microphone set up and stuff like that. I had to hold my Blue Yeti in front of me and talk while Shell stood there with my webcam all hooked up to my laptop.
Her following me around with a webcam.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty ghetto, for lack of a better term.
Live streaming is instantly just way harder in general if you're ever recording anything besides the screen.
Yes.
Like one of the more impressive
perfectly
attempts,
still and perfectly beautiful.
One of the more impressive attempts to try to like go the extra mile for the audience that I've seen is I once saw previously recorded the gaming element of Red Letter Media. They tried to do a Pokemon Go live stream.
Oh
wow!
Yeah,
they had a straight up like they had like one of those carts, like I don't know, it might have been a baby stroller or it might have been like something along the terms of like one of those things that you push down the aisle on a plane. They were pushing it along with a laptop that was creating a local like Wi-Fi hotspot on a phone, and like they were live streaming via their laptop with a stream of the video from the phone's perspective, while also having a webcam sticking out of the front of the cart. So they were walking around trying to live stream this game. And like,
do you know how you're actually supposed to do it, or at least the easy way?
All I know is that there are a lot of people looking at him.
You Skype call with a computer and you stream the Skype call on the actual computer. It saves you a lot of bandwidth. At least
or you do
that's
that,
what I've seen.
And it looks like carrying a baby around.
Yeah.
But the baby is a video camera.
That was a really interesting thing to watch fail. Mostly.
I guess that raises a really interesting point. Like, I guess Pokemon Go is unbelievably difficult to Let's Play. Because it would be moving around so much.
Garbage to Let's Play.
Oh, that's also true. Like, what are you gonna say? Like, all right, I'm walking to the park. I think there's a Dratini like 4 miles away from here. But there's a Rattata. This person's looking at me like I'm really weird. Fuck you, stranger.
Do you think it's cooled off?
You don't get to make me feel self-conscious.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed watching Donkey play. He played Pokemon Go, and it was hilarious because he was like awkwardly throwing Pokeballs like in life, and he's this fat dude dressed up as Ash Ketchum. It was pretty great. Yeah,
damn, that's funny.
It was funny to watch. Yeah,
Pokemon Go was an amazing thing for about 2 weeks, just because it was such a bizarre social experiment thing. But the moment the hype died down and there weren't like throngs of people hanging around parks for it, like it was immediately like, oh right, we have to play the game, and you're like, this game is nothing. There's nothing in the game. You don't do stuff. Like even the Pokemon battles, which you think would be the whole draw, are like you tap a screen rapidly. I think
Pokemon Go is one of the biggest examples I've ever seen of like a completely blown opportunity in the world of video gaming. An incredibly profitable blown opportunity.
I could see them making a second one that's actually good and maybe recouping it, but yeah. Because like, if they didn't,
the expectation is going to be like everyone's going to be pissed off unless it's flawless.
Yeah, what they really should have done was just had it been like, here are areas where you can catch wild Pokemon, and and it's kind of like the generic ones, and depending on like what city you're in, there's like different regional variants, kind of like regular Pokemon, and then you can just battle other people, and then instead of this like,
I'm just picturing regional variants. Like in America, there's one set of Pokemon, and then in Canada, it's all the gold and silver Pokemon.
Dude,
like that's like
great.
Johto.
It would be hilarious, and then there would be like a reason.
Like, you have to go to Vancouver.
Dude, it'd be great. Like, imagine you're going on a ski trip. You're going on a ski trip. You whip out your phone, and suddenly there's just like a butt ton of Sudowoodos there, and you're like, I don't have these. Yes.
Wow, that's really taking that concept and really running with it at that point.
Like better than.
Easily the most
they did.
Easily the most addictive part about Pokemon Go is just catching new Pokemon and like filling in your Pokedex and be like, oh, that's one I haven't seen yet, and that kind of keeps you going. So like that's when I briefly played it on my Pismo trip, I was like, oh yeah, look, there's 500 Ghost and Water type Pokemon everywhere that I haven't seen before. Like it was fun to be like, I got 25 new things in 2 days and stuff like that, which obviously is gonna have diminishing returns regardless. But just like before long, like that. Like, the game doesn't facilitate that in any situation unless you're in a giant city or you're on a vacation spot. There's a problem where, like, the moment I go home from my vacation, I'm like, I basically can't play Pokemon Go anymore because there's just...
No, it's true. It's so biased towards, like, urban centers, which in the world of Pokemon makes absolutely fuck all sense.
Yeah.
Where it should be like, I should go into the
opposite,
meadows and I should find Pidgeys, but instead I go to Walmart and I find Charmanders.
And what's a bummer is they added one thing that was helpful for the game, because they added the ability to make a companion Pokemon, much like you would have like one following you around in some of the other games, where you pick a specific Pokemon to be walking with you. And that means when you go for your walks, the kilometers you walk generate candy for that Pokemon, which can lead to it powering up or evolving and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, you can specifically have a one-to-one relationship between walking and powering up a specific Pokemon, which makes way more sense than anything else the game did. But... if you live in a like suburban neighborhood like I do, like you can't play the game in any other capacity because there's no Pokestops anywhere, so you can't get Pokeballs or anything else required to play the game on just a basic level unless you find Pokestops. It's basically like you're playing
a really bad version of what's it like, Hey You Pikachu?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So without Pokestops in the area, it becomes a pedometer and nothing else. And then it's just not a game anymore.
It's almost like what they released with the newer Gold and Silver, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, those little ones.
The Poke... What are they called?
I just wonder where all this is coming from.
Because they had pedometers before in Pokemon, yeah.
Right. They were literally the little pedometers that you put on your waistband.
It's like they're weirdly concerned with making sure that their fans get enough exercise.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Games are criticized for making people sit for very long hours. So
Nintendo games love to tell you to take a break.
So
yeah, there are tons of games that say like so many Nintendo games say like, hey, you're really stressing out over this level. Don't worry. Like they do that in the new Mario games.
You've been playing this for 15 minutes. You should roll over to not get bed sores.
So this might be a bit spoilery, but
of what?
For Nier, it's not like really a spoiler. Just the very end of the game, you can put in messages to other people being like, don't give up and stuff like that. They had like thousands of little entries you can put in. And mine was like, my fingers hurt. And it's out there in the world. So if you're playing Nier Automata, you might see a little message from Wanderbot saying, my fingers hurt. In the very final boss fight of the game.
You choose 3 sections to your sentence.
Yeah. It's pretty great, actually. I had a lot of fun with it because... what happens is the list of messages starts at the top and it's like super positive, like you can do it. And by the time you get to the bottom, it's like, give up and like, you know, really demotivate.
You
like
it should have said like amazing chest ahead or something.
Like the exact opposite of the message given to you by like, Let It Die, where it's like, oh look, it's your friend who died here. And they gave up. Yeah. And you find the body of your dead friend that's not playing the game anymore and didn't retrieve their playable character.
I can think of nothing less obnoxious than like a hard video game rubbing it in your face that you died. Like that was kind of a thing. Thankfully, no like professional video games go with this, but like in certain Flash games, like really obnoxious ones will be like, "Hey, you died, you suck." And it's like, making something difficult is actually really pretty damn easy to do, but it doesn't make your game good, you know, yada, yada, yada. A bunch of philosophy that I'm sure everyone's aware of already with regards to game design. But, like, I remember when I was a kid, I would make my video games and I would make them super duper hard and challenging, but that's, like, really easy to do because all you do is just you put a bunch of enemies. Yeah, just put more bullets. Like it doesn't make it like a better game, or it doesn't make it fair. And then, you know,
I'm really bummed out when people hype up a game because it's so hard. Yes.
Yeah, it's not really a selling point.
No. As somebody I did like 162 Xbox Live indie games. games can just be hard because they're bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get into Dark Souls because I thought, like, man, this is really hard, therefore it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, the hardness
this
is not
game looks really
what's good
hard,
about
but it also looks like it has like a lot of atmosphere and it has a lot of depth to it. And that's
the difficulty of Dark Souls is a symptom of having relatively unique gameplay stylings and expectations of the player and concrete rules you're supposed to pay attention to figure out how to play it. Being
very unforgiving and unrelenting and like, no, this is the way that you should play this game. And it being fairly different, you know?
Yeah. Like, Dark Souls reminds me a lot of, like, cooperative tabletop games, where you have to figure out the mechanics of the game and carefully understand what's going on and make the right choices in order to be able to beat the game, or you will just lose. And so, like, usually takes multiple attempts. I didn't play a whole lot of those,
but you're talking about, like, the Call of Cthulhu board games, those sorts of things. Really heavy on that sort of stuff.
Or, Betrayal at House of the Hill and stuff like that. Like,
it's a big one.
You have to learn each one from scratch, basically.
Yeah, I never really thought about that angle before, but that does kind of make sense to think about that in terms of Dark Souls. When I think of comparing Dark Souls to other games, I think of Castlevania. It's like a really, really, really good 3D Castlevania game.
Yeah. For me, my point is just like the idea, like it's important to recognize a game on its own terms as opposed to playing it like just another entry in an existing genre.
Yeah, like I guess here was like my arc with learning how to play Dark Souls. I first started playing Dark Souls and I had no idea what the hell was going on ever. I was like, I see a guy, I'm gonna run up and kill him, I'm dead. This is like one of the first enemies in the game, and he just whooped my ass. And then you kind of get to a point where you feel like you get it, but every enemy feels like its own little puzzle that you don't understand. Like, how is this one going to screw me over?
I mean, the nice thing is, like, to some degree, they do throw you a bone. Like, human enemies generally kind of follow common archetypes.
That's what I was going to say. After a little while, you start to notice, like, the repetitions in how enemies attack and, like, what you look out for. And then the game becomes, like, you just like understand it, and you can go into a new area and immediately understand how every enemy is going to attack you, because they all have the same kind of tells, even if it's new models, new environments, what have you. And that's the mark of an extremely well-designed game. That is for sure.
Like, I played Dark Souls for the first time on YouTube. It was like the first proper Let's Play I ever tried to do with Andrew on the Sad Games, and it's still up there. And what's amazing about that is watching myself, because we took like over an hour to get out of the asylum.
Wow.
Like, the game was just destroying us, and we could not figure out how to do it.
That's totally understandable. I think my first playthrough, it took me half an hour to an hour trying to get through that mess, and it was a nightmare.
I remember probably like half an hour, 45 minutes, now that I think about it, yeah.
It's just all the ineffectual shit hollows, too, though. And, like, you should not...
That's enough,
like,
man.
Nowadays, I look at those guys, and it's like, I can't even imagine dying to them. Like, how did it ever happen? And, like, that's...
You know what it is?
That's how real the learning curve there is.
You kick the shit hollows' butts, and then you get to that part where you have the shit hollows with the crossbow, and that's when you're like, no, this is too much. There's one ranged enemy, and then
or
that
the one
becomes
with the
like
shield.
Really... Yeah, and then there's the one with the shield.
Like, oh, that's impossible.
Dealing with enemies that have shields is like a nightmare.
Until you get good.
Yeah, or learn how to kick. Once you learn how to kick, it gets so much easier.
I wish I knew how to kick. It's too annoying.
It's exactly like jump attacks, but with light attack. Super easy.
Does it allow you to stun?
What it does is it kind of like knocks back. Yeah, it knocks back enemies, and if they're blocking, it knocks their shield away, so you can move up and stab them. And sometimes you can do like a special attack, depending. It depends on the game.
Yeah. And then you fight the Asylum Demon, and you're like, wow, this is impossible. And then you beat him, and then that's when the game really starts, because it never gets easier. Ever. And then you fight the Tauros Demon, and it takes you like 3 hours, and you're like,
dude, I would strip naked and launch myself off the top of the building to do drop attacks to take him out, because that was the way it worked.
That's what I did.
I would say that when you're playing your first ever Dark Souls game, you kind of hit two breaking points. One of them is like 10% into the game when you had your first vaguely real challenge where you actually have to be like nailing the gameplay systems.
Going through Undeadburg to
yeah,
defeat the
like
Taurus
for a lot of people,
Demon.
it's the Taurus Demon scenario. We're having to go through that entire zone flawlessly to get to the Taurus Demon to get through that, and like doing that in one run. There's a lot of examples throughout the other games too for that kind of stuff. Actually, I think they did a decent job at making that kind of thing the case for the Boreal Valley guy, because you have to go through like a whole level to get there.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, but then there's also another one about halfway through each game where usually one of the hardest bosses in the entire game more or less shows up and just floors you. But then after you've beaten that boss, it usually isn't too tough to beat the rest of the game. And so like that's what I would qualify as the game getting easier, is that you finally hit the peak of like, oh, I play Dark Souls right now.
Well, what
so
they
now
do,
I can beat Dark Souls games.
That second boss is always a skill check and a gear check. They always throw in a boss that's way harder to basically test you to make sure, like, do you have swords that do enough damage to get you through the rest of the game? Do you have shields? Are you good enough at dodging and rolling and stuff like that? It's a way for them to raise the stakes going into the latter half of the game that forces you to improve your skills enough to get through it.
Yeah, usually requires proper evasion, proper damage, oftentimes the ability to take on multiple enemies at once.
Yeah.
Like Ornstein and Smo, or the Abyss Walkers, or something like that.
I wouldn't consider the Abyss Walkers as much of a gatekeeper in Dark Souls 3 as, say, like Pontiff Sullivan was.
They definitely were, because, like...
Really?
Yeah, because there were...
Oh, right, there were a bunch of them. Yeah, you have a good point. And I've seen enough...
It's like the gargoyles.
They both kind of work, actually, though. Those are both good examples, is Pontiff and Gatekeepers. They're both things where there's multiple enemies in some capacity, multiple attack types, a lot of movesets you just have to flat out learn, a fast enemy that can cover a lot of ground that you can't really stay away from or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of big enemies throughout the series that you can literally just stay away from as long as you want to, and then attack when you want to. And those are not that. They will just be on you, like, instantaneously if they want to.
True. Yeah.
You guys need to play Hollow Knight so we can discuss it as part of this topic.
I don't have time.
I know, but it's like
never have time.
Every bit of this is just Hollow Knight for me, because like
I've seen it in action. Sometimes you get stuck on a boss for like an hour.
Some of them are rough, some of them aren't. One of the things I really like about Hollow Knight is you have these like charms. They give you like various features. Like I got one that makes it so I automatically heal 1 damage, the last damage I took and stuff like that. But it's not like a full fast healing, because once it heals that, it stops. And just various things like that. And it's just this, like, really smart, easy to work with system. But there's some, like, builds that you can do. So, recently, I was fighting this boss who would just roll at you. And he would, like, bounce and he'd roll and he'd, like, flap into the top of the, skybox, or I guess the top of the arena. And he'd then come, like, crashing down on you. And so I made a juggling build. So every time I hit him, I had really long range. And every time I'd hit him, he'd go bouncing away. And so I just sat there in a specific, like, right in the center, and every time he'd roll at me, I'd just bounce him away, and I just juggled him to death. And it was really satisfying, because, I could change it around, and it was like, I could have fought him normally, but it would have been a giant pain in the ass. But since, like, I kind of understood how he worked, you can kind of adapt and figure out a new strategy for it, and it just feels really good. I don't know.
Something I was going to say. Yeah, do I want to talk about... what is it, Rain World? And why it's a pain in the ass.
Okay, so Rain World kind of belongs in the same category as Dark Souls games. Just
I was going to say, like, it seems like a good transition there.
I've never heard Wander, like, swear.
I've never been angry at a game, with maybe the exception of Mushroom 11.
It seems so similar to Mushroom 11.
They're both games with, like, kind of poorly... but I call it, like, it's quappy. Like, you have this mechanic, and it's very clear what you're supposed to do, but the fact that, like, trying to do it is kind of nearly impossible. So, like, you're this, like, little weasel thing, a slug cat, and you're running around trying trying to, survive. You need to find 4 pieces of food every day, otherwise you can't rest. And
if you take too long, you get rained on and die.
There's a time limit that you don't even know about until it's too late, where it starts raining on you, which doesn't seem like a serious issue, except for once it starts raining, you're fucked. There's no escaping it. So all you can do is just either maybe make it to a safe spot, which is, the standard save location, or you die because the rain is actively pushing you down. So good luck like climbing or dodging or anything like that. But all the while there are these creatures that are hunting you from all over the place. So there's like kind of these Gila monster like axolotl things, birds that come out of nowhere and like bite your face off, and just like 500 million things that want you dead plus.
Yeah, I just saw you fighting axolotls.
Yeah. It gets worse. It generally just keeps getting worse and never gets better. And
makes one thankful that you're not a prey animal.
The weird part is like there's no defined route through the game. Like, it has Metroidvania level design, which is really odd because you're actually not supposed to like okay, so it's got Metroidvania level design, but there's no like bonuses or upgrades that let you like get through the environment faster. There's just
is it just a game that's about exploration?
Kind of?
Yeah,
like,
kind of.
There's very clearly a goal, though. Like, there's this thing that I call Goldenrod that shows up almost immediately. It's like, go here, get some food, sleep here, stuff like that. But, like, the times it gives you, like, directions on where to go are so few and far between. It'll be like, by the way, you should go over here because there's a save point. And then it'll disappear, and you spend the next, like, 10 minutes wandering around being like, so where's the save point you told me about? And then you get eaten and die, and you're like, But, like, the problem ultimately lies with, like, the game is so poorly defined, it's impossible to, like, really figure out what you're supposed to do. Because I thought it was going to be one of those where, like, you're constantly just going, standard left to right, get to the end, like all other games. But I have a fan, another YouTuber, that has been, like, feeding me tips and stuff. And apparently that's completely wrong. What you're supposed to be doing are, like, quests and, like, exploring, and you're supposed to stick around zones for some clearly, like, undefined reason. The only quest I ever found out about was the don't die quest.
I will say, like, it reminds me a lot of watching you play Mushroom 11, but it's also an exploration game. But, like, so watching you play this, and I think that this is pretty accurate of what your experience is it's like, you never know what to do, really, and then when you do know what to do, the execution of it is so frustratingly hard that like it's not even satisfying when you actually do accomplish like some goal.
So I ran into a section a little while ago where you find this alien thing, and it turns out it's been the thing controlling Goldenrod this entire time, which alright, fine. But you get there and then you're like, now what? And so eventually I killed it.
Didn't you basically break the game on accident, too, when you got to him at one point?
I killed the creature. I ate the little drones that were keeping it alive, and then it just flops over on the ground, and you're like, did I kill it? Like, I really have no idea what just happened there. So I reloaded, and I made a backup of the save file just in case, bad stuff happened. Because I didn't want to kill the thing. It was the only thing telling me where anything was in the game. So I finally figured out, you're supposed to completely backtrack. What you're either supposed to do is eat those drones and then you light up, or you leave and go
How did you figure that out?
Completely different.
I watched you struggle with that.
Enough people just told me to do so, and I was like, all right, yeah, sure, going with that. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to meet the creature, and then then you have a dream where it's kind of just like, go get some of these drone things, and I'm like, God, you could have told me that, like, when I first met you or something.
You know what's really interesting, too, Wander, is that, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but you are, like, one of the furthest ahead players of the game right now.
Oh, I'm very aware. Most people have given up. I know Markiplier
most people
played,
did
like...
not get as far as you have.
I know Markiplier played, like, a little bit of it, so I've been getting a ton of people being like, I came from Markiplier, and I'm like, not surprised, this game's kind of hell.
So and, like, supposed to be, like, a game that you're kind of fighting against to even get through?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, so like, you don't move very fast.
What's that retro platformer that's supposed to be like, La Mulana, isn't that supposed to be like a group game that's just
La
wants you to not get through it?
Yeah, the La Mulana is very clearly defined with its like objectives and goals. It's just really hard. There was one section I knew I needed to go through an area, but there are these kind of kelpy tree plant things, and what
is
they
this
do
in
is
La
they
Mulana, or is this in
no. This is in Rain World. Like with La Mulana, you know how you can get through. It's just such a pain in the ass that it's impossible. Whereas with this one, you can't tell like what the mechanics exactly are supposed to be. So for example, these kelp trees, they sense movement, but they don't just sense movement, they also maybe can see. Cause I was standing on a bank and one of them was just like grabbing for me and I'm like, what? Like, where's this coming from? But what I had to do is like kind of distract them with these like fruit things because they couldn't grab them because the fruit things don't sink very well. And it would just like get like trapped up in it. But then I'd start swimming away thinking the plant's gotten distracted and like maybe 30% of the time I'd swim past successfully. And the other half of the time it would be like, well, can't deal with the fruit. Even though like I've been so fixated on it until now, guess I'm going to go eat this thing. And suddenly I'm being sucked in underwater and I just, and you have to get past like 6 of these.
I have to wonder if this game was designed to be one of those games like La Mulana or NetHack or Dark Souls or even I Want to Be the Guy, where it is about this shared knowledge, but it just misses the mark on that.
Yeah, if it had a Dark Soulsian like messaging system, I would be so happy.
It's like, sort of like maybe that game just doesn't it doesn't give you enough that you can go on it on your own and get frustrated and then ask for help. Like it just doesn't even give you that much. But then it's not like deep enough maybe to like really get that much of experience about like, oh, this is still gratifying even though somebody told me what to do. It's just like, great, now I know what to do, thanks, and then you just go through it.
Yeah, the problem is there isn't much gratification. Like it's relief, not gratification. Like you get through one kind of hellish situation and it's like, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. And then you immediately get grabbed by these scissor chickens and killed. And
it's not funny. Like I Want to Be the Guy, where it's like I'm gonna walk under this tree, get hit by an apple, and die. Like that's hilarious. Like this game takes itself way too seriously to be funny in those moments.
It's too dark and dreary. So there's no like, there's no happiness about survival. It's just like, well, all
right, you talked me into it.
And did you get rewarded for survival aside from making it to the next checkpoint? Or
I think, Keith, you would probably enjoy it a lot. You just have to like.
Really?
I think Keith would. Keith is enough of a masochist to enjoy such a thing. But I think it's going to be more frustrating than you think it's going to be because it's not. I don't know.
What it weirdly slightly reminds me of is that one Adult Swim game that was really neat, except for the part where every time you died, you start the entire game over, which made it completely uninteresting to beat all the way through.
It sounds like NetHack. Like it sounds like a roguelike.
Yeah,
this is an Adult Swim game.
Yeah, it is Adult Swim.
It is an Adult Swim game.
Though it's published by them. It's not made by them. This
was
is like
called,
some
I don't
British
think they
guy?
make anything. It was called Oblitus.
It's an indie as hell, dude.
You remember
like
Oblitus,
the guy that
right?
made Purple. No, never heard of it.
Oh yes, I remember the name. I don't remember what the game is.
It was a super lethal game and super oppressive, and you're trying to go around, and you could like kind of throw spears at people when you got them, and it was like motion tween platformer. But you would just die and start over.
Yeah, I remember now.
And it was like,
did you actually finish that?
No. I only played it for like a couple hours, and I'm like, I can't start the entire game over every time I die. What the?
Yeah. So this is like a little bit better because you don't have to start over. One of the more frustrating parts about it, maybe for me, is there's a karma system. So every time you die, you get set back a little bit. So if you die enough, you actually can't progress in the game. Because you don't have enough karma. Yeah.
Jeez.
Do you backtrack or do you die?
Why?
You have to backtrack and find some more food. Because every time you sleep successfully, you gain 1 karma, and every time you die, you lose 1. Now, there's only like, 3, maybe 4 levels of karma-ish? And, there's only like a couple levels of karma, and so like it's not a big deal if you go all the way back down. It's just really time consuming, especially if you're in like a really frustrating area. Because if you can't get that HP, well, not that HP, if you can't get that food reliably, you just end up sitting in the pits for ages. So like my second episode's like 45 minutes long, and it's just me trying to find bugs because I need to get 3 karma and I have 1. And they keep getting eaten by invisible Gila monsters.
Wow, that sounds particularly miserable.
I would still say, Keith, it sounds like something you'd enjoy, but I'd still say play Hollow Knight first. They're probably about the same length.
Does anyone even know how long this game is yet?
It's 1,600 rooms over 12 regions, and I think I'm on region 5, and I've got like 10 episodes in. So like maybe Rainworld is probably shorter now that I'm thinking about it, but
the difficulty makes it that much longer.
It's not even the difficulty; it's just the fun factor.
Because I was looking at it, and Hollow Knight's supposed to be like 25 hours long.
Yeah, I'm probably about like 85% of the way through. Part of it is though, like Hollow Knight is gratifying, Rainworld is hell.
By the way, when I was looking at how long to beat, I was looking at the Mass Effect series. Andromeda is the shortest story since Mass Effect 1, but twice as long as any other game in side content.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer.
Because we're probably going to stop with the side content after a certain point.
Yeah, the side content kind of seems like super uninteresting so far, so it's kind of not
we
encouraging.
Haven't done as much of it recently, but I was under the impression that as you progress with the main story and go to new planets, the old planets are suddenly going to be like, hey, there's something new that you can do here. And then it's like, oh.
That is the case, though.
Okay.
Because, like, we like hundoed Eos, and there was...
just reacting to your creation.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a bit. But anyway, like, we hundoed Eos, and... It's like, by the way, there's still like a shit ton of things to do. Like, there's a cat fortress that we had to attack and stuff like that. That was actually really fun comparatively, but still only partially redeeming. I don't know. Do we want to talk more about Mass Effect? I feel like that one's dead.
Well, I think part of it is we had recorded a number
we actually haven't recorded.
We haven't gone back to it.
We haven't recorded it since the day it launched. Wow. Day after.
Jesus.
And I still have like 2 episodes.
You got that
left.
much done?
We still need to go back.
If you like record for a 5-hour session,
you mean you recorded
like
during the early and then recorded on its real launch date afterwards, right? Okay. I thought you meant you got all these episodes in 2 days.
No.
I'm like, holy shit. That's just too much Mass Effect in one marathon.
So, are you guys up for me talking about something completely different?
I was about to say, are we going to talk about Hardcore Spore now?
I got something to say about Mass Effect.
Okay.
So
let's hear it.
So I finished the first planet, or the first major part of the first planet, or whatever, and I hate the story and how it's like it doesn't make concrete sense. This like basic setup and payoff stuff falls apart immediately, and it's starting to really bother me because like what you do is you land on, this is I guess spoilers for the first planet. Like, there's no major story-ish stuff going on. It's just basic, like, the setup of how the game's going to probably work for the whole game.
Yeah, essentially the first settlement failed, and you're making the second one.
It's basically the thing where you play a level that feels like it's going to be the structure of every level from there on, basically, is basically supposed to be the point. But, like, you land on a planet that has 2 failed settlements on it, and immediately I have questions, because the codex entry for the Pathfinder says that you're supposed to be the boots on the ground first person that's spearheading all colonization efforts, and yet multiple people try to colonize before you ever even arrived, which also raises the question.
Who's good at it.
It also makes me wonder, like, why are you not on the Nexus in the first place? Why are you even on the human arc? Why are you on the thing that arrives a year later, as opposed to the thing that shows up first? If you're supposed to spearhead colonization efforts before a single colonist hits the ground, which is the word use they use, by the way. And is not the case. But on top of that, like...
Oh, sorry.
Like, the issue here is that they clearly establish that these other two colonies were able to deal with stuff like radiation and weather and all the other crap that's actually going on with the planet that they set up as being the problem. The real thing that killed those colonists was the Ket. The alien enemies that are the opposing force throughout the whole game, those things killed the two previous outposts. So then you go on to interact with magical alien relics to fix the world, basically. And then they're like, okay, we fixed it. Now we can make a third colony. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, what are you guys doing? 0 colonies have been destroyed by the weather so far. 100% of them have been destroyed by the Ket. We have done nothing about the Ket. Why are we acting like we fixed the problem? But everyone's acting like we fixed the problem. And you put down a colony, like, all right, we got this. And everyone's insane.
Have you explored now that you've gotten Eos as a colony?
So I can't explore yet because I have to wait for radiation to go away. But like, it makes 0 sense for them to be colonizing when we haven't dealt with the thing that killed the other 2 colonies at all.
Yeah, you do some quests to fix that.
That's backwards, though.
The crazy part, no, I'm agreeing with Keith here.
You should eradicate the threat before you build again.
So the crazy town part of all of this is, if you go up that hill that's kind of to the north of whatever the colony's name is, that's where the Ket Fortress is. Like, they're maybe about 3 minutes away from each other by foot.
It's hilarious.
It's Team Fortress 2 logic. We're gonna build 2 opposing bases, 35 feet apart.
2 teams in a box canyon. You ever wonder why we're
goofy.
here?
It's really goofy because, like, they really could have, like, kind of had you do the mission to eliminate the Ket in that facility.
Yeah, just a minute later.
Yeah, that's actually one of the most fun things I've done in the game. Effectively, what you do is, like, here's this Ket Fortress. You walk up to the door and, like, well, start shooting. And you have to, like, hack your way in. You have to disable the security system. I mean, it plays like a classic open world base attack, but it feels good. Like, the combat was fun. And you're effectively just mobbed with endless Ket until you deal with them.
By the way, how inefficient is this operation? Like, we just came here from a different galaxy. We have 0 resources so far that are coming from our new environment. It's literally everything we brought with us and nothing else because we haven't established supply lines or ways of making things yet.
They had good expectations.
Every time we make a new outpost, every time we try to resettle Eos, we make a new outpost and ignore the ones we already made, which, by the way, are, like, unharmed.
Yeah,
there's 2 entire outposts already
damage
there where everyone just died, but all they're so functional that all of their engines are working, which you turn on, and the radiation shields were already still fully powered when you arrived and active. Like, but they make a new one 3 times for no reason.
Wait, so the initial place didn't get repopulated? I thought
there's nobody there.
What?
I'm gonna repopulate a colony
so
with Sarah Ryder and like 2 other female aliens anyway.
It just keeps starting new colonies on in the same like square mile.
It's like Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah,
it is like Dwarf Fortress.
To answer the question about the whole like Pathfinder coming much later, it may have been that they sent the initial vessels as like a preliminary like scout thing, and then they're like, "Oh wait, the Pathfinders would have had to have been sent in the mid."
That's his whole job is being a scout.
But maybe
I'm kind of surprised they didn't send a Pathfinder with the Nexus.
Maybe the writer father hadn't developed the SAM AI yet.
No, they had to have because they all left. Like, it's a 600-year journey, and they all left around the same time, and all arrive around the same time. Like, he didn't magically.
First.
He wouldn't have. They wouldn't send the Nexus first and then be like, we got to finish our research of this never done before AI implants before we can finally leave. Who knows when we'll leave? Like, that'd be terrible to do. Like, they had to have the whole thing set by then. I mean, there's a number of other questions, like how is this even happening in the tiny span of time between when humans meet aliens and when Mass Effect happens? Because the hard stop is Mass Effect 2 anyway, which is already not making sense.
Did they explain how long the Nexus had been up and running and people active there?
Over a year?
A year?
Because everyone's like, we've been here for over a year. We were starting to lose hope. Somehow they built that whole thing in a year, I guess. I mean, the Crucible's like roughly that big, and the Crucible took all the combined force of all of the aliens in the universe, whereas this is like a ship of people, but they made a whole Nexus in that time, apparently. In 1 year. Whatever.
That was only half constructed.
Something which, by the way, no one's ever done before because the Crucible's never been made yet in that timeline. based on when they left, I mean, and they never built the Citadel in the first place. So how are they so good at building this Nexus to begin with? Because they found the Citadel in the first place. They never made it. They're weirdly advanced somehow in this span of time.
You know, they made to scale models, 1/20th scale models,
and just blew it up.
Yeah,
they made it in Minecraft.
It's like dehydrated fruit.
Oh,
so here's another fun, weird plot issue. You communicate with Sam in your brain via a quantum entanglement communicator, which is something they establish in Mass Effect 2. It's how the Elusive Man communicates with the Normandy. It's only a two-way connection between those two specific places, because the only way to do quantum entanglement communicating is to have the quantum entangled particles as matching pairs in every single place you'd ever want to talk to from that spot.
Now, does that just make it highly efficient and instantaneous?
The thing about quantum entanglement is that you can't interfere with it. You can't jam it or interfere with it or anything, because it has infinite range and no lag, because it's like crazy physics laws. But it's super expensive and super hard to do. And yet, apparently, every single Pathfinder has a quantum entanglement device attaching to Sam. And as far as I could tell, it might be that there was already one in all of this possible future Pathfinders, because your dad has it, but then you have one too, I think, because you're talking to Sam also. But why do you also already have a quantum entanglement device? These are supposed to be so expensive that Cerberus, a force so powerful that they threatened all of Citadel space in Mass Effect 3, could afford one in Mass Effect 2. And you apparently all seem to have quantum entanglement devices, but also you somehow get your comms jammed in the beginning of the game, even though you seem to have a quantum entanglement device, which can't be jammed. But even if we get past that, if we're going to travel 600 years into a different galaxy, why do you not have quantum entanglement devices between your destination and where you came from so you can talk to your home? Even though it won't be the same people, you're not going to talk to your family you left behind because they're all dead, except they're Asari and Krogan. But I mean, why would you not want to be able to communicate with your home galaxy on any capacity, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. And then
I'm thinking it over.
The best part, Keith, is that as the game progresses and you keep playing, you're going to find more and more little details that'll just piss you off.
That's why writing sci-fi is difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like writing anything's difficult.
Yeah, but you have to find your references and your research, and there are always...
It has to be consistent and make sense.
So the important thing about Mass Effect 1 is that it's in love with itself. It is so
it's true.
Up its own ass about its own importance, basically. So the whole thing is the people that made it love its universe, and they need to make everything, and they need these are all the details, and no, we want to explain how the ammo works because we love it so much, and look at this explanation we came up for how ammo works and why you don't have to reload, that kind of stuff. And this one is a publisher mandated sequel being written by people that don't love the universe.
Definitely. Do you remember?
So they just have to deal with it. Where are the Quarians? We'll make a hand wave about how the Quarian ship didn't make it. But why would the Quarians even have an arc? What do you mean?
They didn't have an arc. I thought it was
they
just...
said that they said that they introduced in dialogue when you talk to your... I forget if it was one of the people on the Nexus or one of the people on your ship, but one of the side characters says that there was a Quarian arc, but they're running into some issues, so they're running behind, and that's supposed to have the Elcor, and it's supposed to have Hanar and Drell on it and stuff like that.
Oh, because I remember it was just Asari, Solarian, Human, and Krogan?
And Turian. Those are the four arcs that are definitely coming, but there's supposed to be also a Quarian arc that they weren't quite getting off the ground. But just think about this for a second. Why would the Quarians make an arc? They're the smallest population of any race in the entire game with the least resources.
They have a home ship already.
They have their fleet of barely functioning ships that are so wrecked that they have to send people on pilgrimages to bring back stuff to fix their fleet. And their entire mission is to take back their homeworld. And yet their tiny government and tiny population is funding a giant ship that's going to have tens of thousands of people on it to leave forever.
I mean,
and
there's
literally
some of them
benefit
that
them
might
in no
like
way.
the idea of having a new homeworld, but
there's no way the Quarian government would ever divert half their population's resources practically to bother making an arc for any reason. But they were just Quarians are a popular race, we'll give them lip service for 2 seconds and not think about it in a throwaway comment. But if you care about the universe, you're like, what are they talking about? What do you mean you made a Mass Effect telescope with the Geth? That doesn't make any sense. You can't just make the Mass Effect telescope. That's not how telescopes or Mass Effect fields work. And also, the Geth wouldn't... When did you talk to the Geth? Like, we just finished fighting Saren, and we're about to go to war with the Geth. What time window did this happen in?
Now, I know that this had been shared in the chat, but there was a lot of speculation about like why the facial animations were as wonky as they were, and I think what was it in this one article, a guy said that he had sources from BioWare that were his friends that had said, oh yeah, they had outsourced.
It was the Witcher guy, right?
That's confirmed at this point. They outsourced most of the what they did was they did the mocap.
So essentially BioWare, they handled the ships, the environments.
Yeah, that's why the environments look so nice. That's why the ships look so nice. That's why, like, anything that doesn't move looks gorgeous. But the moment it requires any kind of fleshy bits, it looks awful because...
And you're right. I'd been...
Interesting.
I had been in opposition of Wander's opinion that they had, like, mocapped and just stuck with the mocap for faces.
But that's exactly what they did.
They did.
They just mocapped the faces and they did no post-animation to make sure it looked good past that point.
Oh, have you seen how bad some of the mocap is, by the way? Like, not the, like, boring mocap, but, like, oh my god, this is amateur level, like, red versus blue mocap going on.
I mean, I saw the really bad one where, like, the character's torso started sliding through themselves.
Wait, what? Where was this?
When you finished EOS and PB, like... like, I'm getting on a shuttle now, bye, and she like walks backwards onto a shuttle and her arms are all jittery and weird and like way too high frame rate looking, and she like she like skates backwards onto a shuttle and spins. Like it's like a weird, it looks like a weird fast forwarded like amateur motion mocap like you would see from like the non-Monty Ohm segments of motion captured Red vs. Blue, where people just look like really awkward and out of place, and most notably, no one was moving like that a second ago. So you're like, why are they suddenly moving completely differently?
My favorite part of the way that people move in the Andromeda series is when their legs move almost completely disjointedly from their torsos. Like their
LA
upper
Noire
half
problem.
just doesn't move, and their legs are like zibba-dibba-doo.
I've had some special moments too, like PB shoots out of the back of her gun. I had Lexi T-pose in my first conversation with her, and when I'm escaping the underground facility on the first planet, my character runs through a solid door in a cutscene.
I had Liam firing a no gun for a while. That was funny. He just didn't have a gun. He was standing there, his hands were in position. Bullets were coming out, but gun? Nah.
There are a number of characters, when they blink, their eyeballs show through their eyelids.
I have special eyes. Shepard is still alive today? Really? Nice. Well, okay, so Wander, you did say Mass Effect Andromeda was dead, but I guess you were wrong.
Well, it's not
dead. A lot to talk about.
We will have a dedicated 10-minute segment every week for the next 2 or 4 months.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to slowly be pushing through this game and finding new issues.
I don't want to talk about it too much because it's just like I want to finish it. I don't want to be demoralized from finishing the game.
It just makes me look forward to whatever new IP they were actually working on, because hopefully more time and care is put into it than just trying to regurgitate another Mass Effect
I'm just surprised the executives thought they could get away with this, because like anybody should have known
Did it make money?
Well, yeah, but like after Mass Effect 3, you'd think, yeah, we should probably make sure we don't fuck up badly here.
Well, I mean, look at all the terrible sequels to long-standing series that there's been.
I was going to say, like, Aladdin 2, Jafar's nightmare.
Actually, the third one wasn't too horrible.
Oh, yeah, so Aladdin 3, Jafar comes back from the dentist.
We also had that one weird period of time where it was like a symptom of the PS3 and 360 being around too long, where their various flagship franchises had already finished their trilogies, so they all got a 4th game that instead of having a number had a subtitle for a name, like Gears of War Judgment and God of War, whatever it's called. Like, they got these weird, like, off-brand 4th games that everyone's largely tried to forget about for like 6 different franchises. It's like, we got to make a new one on the same console. Because everyone's planning. People usually plan like a new franchise for the next console and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this harkens back to our discussions before on film and how it's adaptations, remakes, sequels, prequels.
New things are scary.
Yep, new things are scary.
And Mass Effect is like the
Power
most
Rangers, Ghost in the Shell, and Beauty and the Beast are out right now.
Like, oh yeah,
So that's
did you see-
1994.
Keith, did you see Power Rangers, or is that
No, I did not.
my imagination? Okay.
I have not seen Power Rangers. I would see Ghost in the Shell first, but I might
Yeah.
not see any of them.
I mean, I want to see Logan first, then Ghost in the Shell.
I just
Probably
want to
be
get
second on my
everything from
list.
Amazon a couple months from now, when it's like
Yeah.
a quarter the cost, and I can watch it from bed. And if it's bad, I don't feel bad about wasting $20 on it.
I think
is-
we'd watch Star Trek that way.
It is super surreal
The third
seeing
one.
that movie poster, that movie theater that has like the manual like tile signs you put up. That and yeah, the three things listed are Power Rangers, Ghost in the Shell, and Beauty and the Beast. It's like, where am I? What year is this?
Yeah, no, that's a great image.
Gonna really
sums
focus on
up what
time
phase we're
travelers.
in right now.
I can understand why Disney is doing what they're doing, but quite frankly, most of the charm from Disney was the fact that they were one of the few companies that made high quality 2D animation. And
Yeah, but
no
it's
one
expensive,
does
so
2D
goodbye
animation
forever.
anymore.
Yeah, goodbye
Horrible.
forever is pretty accurate. Can't even do it on YouTube
Are you telling me there
anymore.
might be something
Christ.
cynical about the studio planning 40 Marvel and Star Wars movies for the near future?
Well, the thing is, when it comes to Marvel superheroes, there are so many of them. Man, they could make movies forever, not even have sequels to like current characters.
They're pretty aware of that fact, so
Yeah.
they are definitely capitalizing on that specific thing you just pointed out.
I've got a new second favorite Marvel adaptation now after Guardians of the Galaxy, which is
All right, when's the new one coming out?
Legion's so good. It's over now, so if anyone wants to catch up on that, the first season's over. It's real good. It's the first. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but it's the first
who's
time
featured in
I've
Legion?
seen it like a TV
Legion
show.
is Xavier's son.
Like, There's
it's
been
Xavier's
so many adaptations of Marvel and DC characters and stuff, but especially the Marvel ones specifically across all the Netflix stuff and the NBC stuff and the movies. Every single Marvel adaptation so far has just felt like a by the numbers superhero movie, and they either are made or broken on like how good their writing is or how interesting the story structure turns out to be, but they're all like made the same way, it feels like, and have the same basic like formula. And
Oh
just-
yeah,
it
you
just
get
comes
tired
down to
of
whether or
origin
not the
stories.
idea was good. But like Legion has like creative vision. It feels like you're watching like some director's very specific style and telling methods, and it's super compelling and weird. And I had a great time with it. And they never mention any X-Men character you've ever heard of in the entire duration.
That's good.
Oh, nice.
Just totally detached. They don't even say he's Xavier's son. They just don't bother talking about
He's
X-Men.
the son of somebody.
The only reference to X-Men in the entire show, I think, is the fact that the logo Legion, the 0 has an X in it. I mean, the O has an X in it in Legion. So it's like, oh, get it? It's part of the X-Men universe because it's that one symbol, and that's it.
So,
All right, so shall we talk about hardcore spore?
shall we?
I think you've been itching to.
Keith, are you okay with Hardcore Spore?
I'm good.
Okay, so Hardcore Spore was my April Fool's joke, and quite possibly one of the most popular things I've done in a while.
What do you mean by
Yes.
most popular?
I had
Oh, he has like
500
130
people.
viewers, solid.
Well, on Twitch, yeah, throw in YouTube, and suddenly it's like 3 times that. I had like 500 people watching yesterday.
Well, is it because
I just did it as a joke.
No, is it because when people browse on YouTube and switch for like current streams, they just see Spore and they go, "I remember that game. It used to
Not
be
really.
cool."
Like, this
No.
game...
No.
This game was a complete, like, wash, all things considered.
I remember when I was little, I thought that it looked interesting, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I get it." But then my parents were like, "No." It's like,
Your
okay.
parents did you a solid.
Yeah, so I got
we only
Spore
got
for
Myst
my
games and Star
birthday.
Wars games.
I got Spore for my birthday back in 2008. Like, the day it came out was my birthday exactly, pretty much. And I was super excited because, like, hey, you know, I've been looking forward to this for ages. And it was a complete disappointment. And it still is, to some degree. It's funnier now that I'm, like, producing content for YouTube. Like, even right now, I'm making this horrible monstrosity that has like a whale face and like noodly ass limbs and shit like that.
For an evolution game,
oh come on, Wander! I've drawn enough shit.
I'm just
worthy.
Really surprised at how you can actually remove and add completely different parts. Like, I had always assumed, looking at Spore, that you would build off of.
Sadly,
your current
no,
creature.
it doesn't. No. Originally, what it was supposed to do is actually like kind of track what you do with your character.
It was supposed to be genetic and like DNA based.
Yeah,
right?
And so you would put in options and you'd get to see the results after the fact.
But now you build it.
Instead, I've got like this horrible monstrosity just going around the world doing its thing.
Rogue Legacy pulled off the genetic system better than Spore did, and it was...
Which is hilarious.
So anyway, yes, he did hardcore Spore, and
it's hard.
It is
like,
hard.
The weird part about the game is like actually like one of the more difficult things I've ever done.
The hardcore part is.
So yeah, the hardcore part of it is every time you die, you start over. And you know, this doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world, but like what ended up happening
it wasn't set up for that though, because you're supposed to build off of your previous progress.
Yeah, and
is the goal to see how many attempts it takes to get to space?
Kind of. I couldn't get past the amoeba phase. It's actually like really skewed against you. So eventually I just gave up, switched it down to normal mode, and it was like, I guess this will just have to do.
It's skewed against you because the expectation is that you build off of your old progress, because you don't keep your unlocks when you start over. So you're basically like, it's a huge uphill fight. But I think that basically the way it works is that once you get past the tribal stage or whatever, you basically have beaten the game. Yeah. At that point, it's just like a long like slog towards reaching the center of the universe, I guess.
Then you just have to make sure you don't get annihilated by other sentient races.
I said at the very beginning I was just going to cheat to the center of the universe because like it bugs me a little bit because this game to some degree feels like Proto No Man's Sky, just from the like you know. Procedural creatures.
Where do you find out that when you get to the center of the universe, it zooms out and puts you in another universe?
Well,
or you're an amoeba now.
So
the whole universe was the amoeba of another universe.
What actually happens in Spores, you get the center of the universe and you meet, what is his name, Gary, and he gives you a staff that lets you terraform any world to be perfect. And that's it. And he's got like some humorous dialogue, but it's totally not worth going to.
Because it's totally not worth reaching that stage in the game at all.
Yeah, it
honestly,
never was.
The only good part of that game is the amoeba stage. At the very least, they were smart enough to know to polish the first like 3 hours so you can't return it.
Is the amoeba stage just Feeding Frenzy?
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Okay. I mean, have you ever seen any of the IO games lately? It's like that, but with more customization.
With just Feeding Frenzy?
Yes. Okay. No, the core gameplay is Feeding Frenzy.
Yeah, Feeding Frenzy is itch.io, but with fish, and 10 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago? It's old now.
It's pretty old.
And that's when
you shouldn't be too surprised that did well, though.
Because
like all your most popular videos, Wander, are like, let's play this game in a dumb, wrong way. And then then commit to it for like 10 hours.
It was just really amusing that it's just like people latched onto it so much.
Yeah. What you gotta do is just now accept the idea that this is your fate, and now you need to find wrong ways to play every game, because that's what they really want.
Okay.
They just want you to play games wrong and play Scrap Mechanic.
Hey.
Actually, you play that game fairly wrong.
Honestly, like, I've actually kind of stopped with Scrap Mechanic for the most part. Like, I think it's been over a week since I put out my last episode. Has, apart from, like, low reviews, has not impacted my growth in the slightest. That game had its time, was fun, and now it's nice to move on to something completely new.
Yep.
We need to figure out more multiplayer stuff, though.
Yeah, there haven't been a whole lot of like good new multiplayer games, which is like one of the main.
Dear
things
Lord,
for,
you
like,
broke 400. Didn't even notice that.
Yeah. I figured you wouldn't. We shouldn't do another maze episode for 400, so we did something completely different. The mazes were fun, but.
That's like Northern Line dedication levels right there.
Yeah.
Our last Scrap Mechanic session broke my heart.
Yeah. Broke mine too. Like I like scrap mechanic, but the fact that they've updated it substantively twice since like the game really came out.
I just find it amusing that your friend has probably made more for it than the creators have.
Oh, Durf, yeah.
After the fact.
Oh yeah. Durf has done a lot of love for that game. We would not have done the last 100 episodes.
If it weren't for Durf and Bird, I would have quit that game so long ago.
So I have scary Spore-related news, which is that Spore,
I don't remember her from the Spice Girls.
Great disappointing collaboration with like Maxis and EA and stuff of 2008, right?
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, the same companies come together to give us SimCity 2013.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So next year is going to be 5 years again. What are they going to do in 2018? Whatever it is, don't buy it. You've been warned.
Black and White 3.
I mean,
I see a trend.
The people
Black
that
and White
worked...
3. Black and White 3.
That's not even the right company, is it? That's like, that was Peter Molyneux's company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a Black and White 2, you're right.
Yeah, it was.
It was
I think Black
pretty
and White
fucking bad.
Peter Molyneux needs to have like
a
M. Night Shyamalan style like renaissance.
I think he had that chance multiple times. Like, M. Night Shyamalan made some mistakes.
And then continued to make mistakes.
Yeah,
and
but like Molyneux succeeded.
But he just turned around.
Succeeded like maybe once or twice. Like Fable 1 was awesome, and then after that it was pretty much just downhill. I guess Black and White 1 was pretty good.
It was a decent game. It was a huge letdown. Populous was his first humongous success.
Right. Destiny's on the PC now. Or will be.
Oh, yeah, that's unrelated, but yeah.
But like,
are you reading video game news?
No, he's playing Spore.
Yeah, the surprise with M. Night Shyamalan is that his last couple of movies are actually supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like he's...
What are his last couple of movies?
He made The Visit and Split. Split being that one movie with what's his name having a split personality, James McAvoy. They're like, people are like reacting to these movies really well all of a sudden, and apparently it's because like the studio he's working with, I guess, just gives him like less than $10,000, less than $10 million to make his movies, and he has to make like
$10,000 is
that'll get you
like,
a actor for about 3 seconds. That's a signing.
So a diminished.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So I'm just wondering if like a diminished budget means better writing.
It means he has to just make a movie about people in a room with an idea of some kind.
Yeah.
Well, I think
which is all his original movies.
For some people, after a certain amount of failures, you do actually kind of get the hint that maybe I should stop screwing around so much.
I mean, he hit the bottom with After Earth. Like that movie might have been worse than Last Airbender.
Well, wasn't that straight up like Mormon propaganda or something, or was it
you're thinking of Battlefield Earth, which was by Will Smith, which is a Scientology movie. And
wait, you mean there's a difference between Battlefield Earth and
Battlefield Earth's not a Will Smith movie, is it? You're thinking of Travolta.
John Travolta movie. My mistake. Well, wasn't Will Smith in Battlefield Earth?
I don't think so.
He was in After Earth.
After Earth is a 2013 movie with Will Smith where he's blatantly trying to make his son a star.
God damn it! I was trying to correct, and now it's like all.
You're all wrong. Everything in your brain is wrong.
I haven't heard of it. After Earth. What was the premise?
It's the Will Smith movie. Will Smith and his son, Jaden, of course. Crash land on Earth again, and it's covered in critters.
Our eyes aren't real.
Oh, that one. Wait, I remember the trailers.
After Earth is also like a Scientology movie? Man, any movie that ends in Earth is a damn Scientology thing. What the hell?
Now we need to go find the Scientology message in Disney's Earth.
Or those Dave Attenborough documentaries, like.
What about Titan AE?
I could see it. They had ARC ships.
Oh, A means After Earth, huh?
Yeah. That was the one with the big robot, right?
No, that's the Iron Giant you're probably thinking of.
I mean, there's a lot of big robots.
I mean, Titan AE was the one about humanity got completely destroyed by these creatures that believed in some prophecy that humans would be the annihilation of their own kind. So, like, we're going to preemptively destroy mankind in order to prevent this prophecy from taking place, which is funny because I think the protagonist's father or something had helped with this Titan project, which was essentially a planet-building ship. Like, it could somehow spawn a new planet from...
I got bad news. I'm looking at the Wikipedia entry for Titan AE, and there's a section on it that says Scientology influence. I'm kidding. There isn't a section, but it's believable. That's where we're at right now. Scientologists got to stop making movies that end in the word Earth.
I find it interesting because I'm wondering, like, if I don't want to say that like Mass Effect was influenced by it, but humans were like the new guys in the neighborhood when it came to interacting with other races,
and they were jerks about it.
Yeah, the other aliens were jerks about it. They're like, "Hi, your home
No,
got
we were
destroyed."
jerks. Humans were mean.
Humans were jerks too?
Well, to be fair, we got there, and the what's Garrus's race again?
Oh wait, you guys are talking about Mass Effect. I was talking about how they interacted in Titan AE, but whatever.
Yeah, well, you did say Mass Effect in the sentence.
Yeah,
sorry.
In Mass Effect, we got there more or less, and then immediately everyone declared war on the humans. So it's just like,
because we just kind of like showed up and we're like, well, look at all you like jackasses. Guess we're gonna be the #1 around here, right? And then we like,
well, it's more like we encountered the Turians and then fought the Turians.
Yeah,
and then everyone's like, whoa, chill out. There's like a whole like space federation.
Oh, you see, in Titan AE, humans were essentially indentured servants to aliens because without a home world of their own, they had to rely on the aliens to provide them with resources and work and other things.
Oh, yes, get the humans to build our monuments for us. I have to do my taxes. Oh, don't you have a human for that? No, I forgot to feed him.
They're
sure get a human. They also give you a tax break while they do your taxes. And then you have a human being filing the tax break for their own existence.
Damn, that would be existentially demoralizing. Wow.
I might be a monster.
On the other hand, I mean, at the very least, they're getting paid. So
I just find it interesting
I
when
get backlash for that kind of stuff because I'll be like killing sentient creatures in video games and reminding everyone that they're sentient creatures that won't go home to their families and stuff like that.
Well, it does make you wonder how many enemies you go through in the course of a game. I mean, it's astronomical.
I mean, it's really hard to play the first Nier game back-to-back with the Zelda game and not think, wow, Link's a monster when you're playing the Zelda game.
Yep.
That's the whole point in Nier, though.
Because they have, like, identical gameplay, except in one, you find out that everyone has hopes and dreams that you're killing, and, like, they have narration constantly playing on the screen in subtitle form about how you're a monster.
Can I find love?
I was actually reading the like, one of the interviews with Yoko Taro, and his, like, inspiration for starting the Drakengard like Nier series, and he's like, I was playing a video game and I realized I'm killing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so whenever you bring that up as his inspiration, I'm like, that is actually like super cool, and I wish more developers had like more thought into it.
Yeah, he's someone who's bothered by the fact that the primary way that video games express themselves is violence.
Yep.
Right.
Which is actually
it's
changing.
not like puzzle games and other games.
Is it changing?
Yeah,
I mean, it's changing more and more, and that more and more often, like, surprisingly successful stuff comes out in the form of, like, Undertale or Night in the Woods, where your primary form of playing the game is to talk to people.
Yeah.
And, like, in Undertale, you can talk to everyone until they don't want to fight you anymore.
I mean, I will say that as somebody who is interested in a lot of game design, something I have butted up against a lot of times is, like, the violence aspect, where I'll be designing something and I'll immediately realize, like, I just basically took it as a base assumption that, like, the primary mechanic is going to be you are killing something.
Yeah.
And, you know,
like,
it's not a problem. I kind of gloss over it and just move through it because, I don't know.
I think part of it is it's ingrained in like the social aspect.
It really is.
Because
it really is.
All of our old tales of, heroes vanquishing dragons and fighting, warring clans. And yeah, I suppose it plays into like the whole like, I am strong and macho
it really makes me think of like Bloodsport. Like going back like that far culturally. How like ingrained.
Hunting.
Yeah, that as well, but like how ingrained violence is into like the way 99.9% of video games exist.
Oh yeah,
also, I think it plays
the way you
into...
start making a game is you make a playable character and you make an enemy and you figure out how they fight each other, and then you make the rest of the game around that.
That is literally like the core of almost every game, the way the design process works.
I mean, when it comes especially to games that are like a versus, it's about win and loss. So that's why you have things like Battleship and Stratego and Risk and such. It's all about warfare.
That's what's so interesting about playing tabletop games, is that it has you questioning the basics of what makes a game in the first place. Like video game audiences are so attached to violence that the moment a game doesn't have violence, they start pointing finger towards the idea of like, it literally is not a video game now. It's some sort of interactive experience, or they try to make up with like decrediting words because they're like they're
that's dumb.
They feel so insecure about this terminology because they're so used to violence in other games that the moment it's not violent, it's like something else somehow. But
so like puzzle games like Myst, and I know that you were recently playing Quern, among other things. Like they're just an experience as opposed
like simulators.
Or like I think about our average tabletop game we play, because we have Marty has a horrifying collection, partly because he keeps supporting Kickstarters for board games, and then they just show up.
He's one of your roommates, I assume?
He's the guy that owns the whole house.
Okay.
It's so incredibly rare for any of these games to express themselves through violence at all. There's so many Takanokos where it's a game about a poor little farmer trying to make bamboo of certain heights and colors while a panda's going around eating them. Like, and that's the whole game. Or suburban planning games and things like that. Or even Resistance is a game that's technically kind of about violence, but it's the basic mechanic is about figuring out who is or isn't the traitors among your group via social deduction.
No, it's true. So many board games are like way freer, I think, than like video games, despite the fact that there's very little reason for it at all.
Yeah.
Well, you are still yourself. You're not acting through an avatar.
I guess, that's true. I guess another big thing is that board games are, by and large, inherently social, whereas you don't really have that guarantee with most video games.
Right.
Where, like, if there is social interaction, it's, like, first off, you can't really, like, make that cooperative without basically running out of content really fast. If you make it an adversarial setting like Team Fortress 2 or something, then you have one team pit against each other, violence mechanics like start to play in that, and then it kind of makes itself, as compared to like a cooperative game where you don't get that. I don't know if I'm expressing this point particularly well, but you have to keep making original content for it. Otherwise, players will beat it and then just move on because there's not really much to get out of it anymore.
Right, but
which isn't the end of the world, honestly.
And it's much easier to create new enemies or new zones for, like, say, an MMO than it is to create new.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
I wouldn't say that it always makes less money. Like, The Witness probably has been a much more efficient moneymaker than, like, WildStar ever was.
Which one was The Witness?
That was the Mistlike by Jonathan Blow.
Oh, that's the one that you guys were playing.
Game. That's the Beautiful Island.
Yeah. Shell was not.
I was not
living
present
with
for
me
it
at the time, so
you should play it then.
Yeah.
You should experience that.
I'm
it seems like
amazed
it's up your alley.
played it.
I remember you got really upset with the dun 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 dun.
Oh, dude, Hall of the Mountain.
Yeah, when are you guys gonna start recording Shell just like solo recording through puzzle games?
Oh, yeah. We still have all the missed footage.
She is perfect. She has a YouTube channel. She is perfectly welcome to...
She wants to put her paintings and enriching activities on there.
On that earlier topic, just because he started talking about like whether or not games profit and stuff like that. Like, for me, the important thing is who's making the argument. So, like, obviously the people making games, especially publishing games, will make arguments about whether or not certain things are successful and stuff like that. And that's kind of one of the evils of the industry you just kind of have to deal with. For me, the bummer is when the audience themselves push back against innovation by having such a staunch expectation of what the entirety of the medium should be like. And that's always really disappointing to watch in action, because like every time you push away from like a Gone Home or a Her Story or an Undertale or anything that's vaguely different or weird, anything along the thought process of Yoko Taro, like questioning the basic fundamentals of video games and what we expect out of them, like the more we shake things up, the more we can get really cool stuff that no one expects.
At the same time, like I'd say the industry is definitely adapting in favor of that.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, and there's things like Portal that did very well. Then there's no combat in that. You're just trying to progress.
To be fair, though, Portal was made by like an extremely respected studio at the time, whereas like Gone Home. Gone Home kind of
somebody
followed
basically by themselves.
Well, yeah, but also like Gone Home followed Dear Esther, which was not a particularly good.
It was like a museum
predecessor.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, Dear Esther was stupid popular.
Was it?
In underground circles, like Dear Esther was like kind of revered as a mod for being so different. And then the HD remake comes out,
like cult classic kind of thing.
The problem with Dear Esther is that the HD remake comes out and everyone's like, oh, this is cool, and people have said that this thing is really cool, and then they play it and they're like, what the hell? But like, because it got really, really like a lot of exposure and it was not really something that was equipped to be exposed in that much.
Well, it was a mod.
It was a mod. And then they gave it a remake and sold it for like $3 or something, and
$10.
A lot of people bought it. And then the Stanley Parable comes out and it does that like so much better, but and everyone points to that as like, this is done well, and it's like, yeah, but Stanley Parable came out after Dear Esther and built off of that like a lot.
Yeah, it learned from its mistakes.
Meanwhile, I got around to Stanley Parable so late and had already seen so many by the time I got to it, it was like watching The Godfather 40 years too late, where I'm like, I don't know why it's so hyped.
I tried to do a small thing with Shell for Stanley Parable, and I was like screwing around, and she's like, "This is dumb. You can play this alone," and laughed. And I was just like, "Well,
I don't remember what was going on."
Eight.
Okay.
So Stanley Parable was kind of low impact for me, despite like I end up being like the naysayer of the group for that game in a weird way.
So
and
here's
I never
the thing
expected
about
that, because I thought I'd love it.
Here's the thing about Stanley Parable. For like most people, the experience of Stanley Parable being so mind-blowing was the experience of Dear Esther when it was a mod.
Yeah.
And then when the HD remake comes out and everyone poo-poos it, is like what you were saying, where you were kind of like, I don't get it. That game has a weird history that I don't think people are really like too much aware of, but yeah, it's kind of it was really, as somebody who's familiar with both mods, to see like how they were released and how they survived in the HD remake market, it was really strange to see how it all played out.
For me, Beginner's Guide had way more punch, even though it was probably more of a Dear Esther than Stanley Parable was.
Yeah, it was definitely very much more Dear Esther-y.
Yeah. But like Stanley Parable, like I got like one or two of the special endings, and I was like, okay, I get it. And I even laughed a fair amount. Like I thought it was pretty funny at first, but then like trying to hunt for any more endings, like it quickly had diminishing returns of like, okay, I'm going to go to a place, he's going to have like a meta commentary about video games, he's going to talk for a long time, and I might be able to interrupt him at some point if I do a certain thing, and then you wait for the next ending to play, and then you loop back to the beginning and try again. And I'm like, before long, I was like, I'm kind of just listening to audio logs, and I kind of already know what he's going to say.
I will say that that's very true about Stanley Parable. After like the third ending, you get the joke of the game, and there's like way more endings than it is welcome.
I hit a point where I felt like I could write the endings myself while they were happening. Like it wasn't really surprising me anymore, and I don't know if that's because I was just already too far ahead of the game, or like maybe a lot of people just don't think about it when they're playing it or something. But yeah,
I don't think it was a game that was meant to be 100 did.
Yeah,
like,
but I
think
got
the whole point is you're supposed to get a couple
did.
endings. Yeah, you're supposed to get like 3 or 4 endings, and then you're like, okay, I get the gist of this game. But they present this like breadth of choices because they know that most people are going to pick different endings throughout all of it.
But at the same time, it has like an asking price that would incentivize you to play it for more than half an hour.
I would say that, yeah, I think that Stanley Parable's price point was a little bit high for what the content of it was. It was still really good, and I feel like they earned that money, but like in terms of replay value, like, yeah, the value isn't really quite there.
Yeah, like my issue isn't like, because I don't really question prices too much, so like I would never begrudge them for the price itself and say they don't deserve it, but I just say that like the price's existence incentivizes you to try to get more out of the game rather than just than stopping almost immediately like you would with a Flash game.
With Stanley Parable, it was other things than replay value that drove the price point up. Like the humor was really good, and then the other thing is that game was stunningly, brilliantly marketed.
You also have to account for like uniqueness in market.
Yeah,
because like
there's no competitor to it, honestly. At the time,
you can't. Like what's a good example? I mean, The Witness. The Witness for $30, I'd say is worth it. A lot of people would probably disagree with me on that one. But like,
but fuck them.
Yeah, but like, you can't understate like how important having like a unique game is on the market.
Yeah, and you can't say it lacks duration or polish.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. All right. Do we have any viewer questions?
Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, we can look through those.
I have to do this one first because we have our own reasons to talk about it. Ryan Richter, who, by the way, is the person who does all the time codes for these things, so shout out to him.
Thank you.
He asks, in the spirit of April 1st, have you witnessed a good prank? Any of you?
Oh, do you want me to... okay, I didn't witness it this year, but I can tell
okay,
that one
well,
from last year.
I need to fess up to something. I only got hit by one April Fool's.
Okay.
And it was fucking Keith.
It was Keith.
He put out a Persona 5 video.
Okay.
Now, Persona 5 comes out in like a day or two.
This is the only April Fool's joke I've ever done.
I thought Keith may have gotten lucky and gotten a press copy for once. And this is like a game that I specifically also want to cover. And so him getting a copy before me is annoying because I want to be like on par with Keith or ahead of him. So
I knew
when he
press
talks
your
about
competitive buttons.
Well, no. I like to be ahead of you in games because when your Discord talks about it, I can actually be there and pay attention. I like listening to your Discord because they're very much on point with the game. And
are they more like intellectuals? Or is that what you mean?
My Discord likes like Zelda and stuff like that, and I'm not going to begrudge them for anything of the sort. But like, it bugs me when Keith's ahead of me in a game because I can't talk about it with anybody because then I get like crazy spoilers, and I'm like, no, I don't want that.
So some people picked up on the fact that it was a joke because the title of the video was "Let's Play Persona 5 Part 1: Meet the Waifu Pillow That Talks Back to You."
Yeah, yeah. The moment I saw
I literally typed waifu cringe into
I was
Google.
like, oh.
I typed waifu cringe into Google and found a title that fit that and copied it into my title. I'm like, I gotta do that because it's weirdly accurate to like a cynical interpretation of visual novels.
A little bit.
But yeah, I uploaded 4 Xbox Live Indie Game videos from back in the day, merged into one video for 45 minutes to make it look like an RPG video, and called it Persona 5 Let's Play for April Fool's Day. And I got a lot of people.
Yeah, your like-dislike ratio for that is...
It's 73
impressive.
to 43.
Yeah, people were not happy about that. It's like,
happy.
Come on, take a joke.
Ouch.
Some people actually watched the video and really enjoyed it too, because it's actually some of my favorite Xbox Live Indie Game videos.
I was gonna say, like, I actually watched a little bit of it and I had a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really fucking weird videos. Like, because one of them was...
It must be really weirdly mind-blowing.
Like, one of them is Scarlet the Zombie Slayer, which was like a really terrible side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but had hand-drawn graphics, like really badly hand-drawn. But despite how
Keith,
bad
is this
the drawn
video
was,
unlisted? I can't find the Persona
it's just
5
called
video.
it's
He
now it's just
renamed
called
it.
Let's Play Xbox Live Indie
It's got
Games,
the
and it has a
goldfish with the arms.
Oh,
yeah. So
I see.
Scarlet the Zombie Slayer was crazy because it was full of like it looked like garbage, but it also played like a modern AAA game in that every couple seconds it would suddenly show like a cinematic cutscene that you don't control or a QuickTime event or something, but it'll all be super badly drawn but all unique as you were going along. So he's going through a ton of work to make this really badly drawn game, and like it was so weirdly elaborate with all these cutscenes and stuff that it was just it was a blast to experience. Then we have a game called Unbreakable Chain that I can't even explain, where like you're just
that was actually the part of the video I skipped to when I really like it sunk in that
in Unbreakable Chain it's like reverse Spore. You keep playing as various animals and getting eaten by bigger animals, but then instead of losing, you take control of the bigger animal and get eaten by something else. But it is also terribly drawn. There's a game called like
it's not interesting.
There's a game that's like
Arrow.
I was wondering so you're saying that it's like a parasite that takes over what eats it?
No, you just play as the guy that ate you. You just keep playing as whoever ate you over and over again, going up the chain.
It's not good.
No, it's not good. It's just a what the fuck game that you encounter.
Thinking if there was some parasitic thing, like the parasites that live inside mice or rats that sort of compels them to remain docile, and then
we should play Last of Us
parasites
together.
that Last of Us is based on. But my favorite is this game where you play as a green hand coming down from the sky like God, and it looks like a What the Fuck Japan Seriously video, like from like one of those ones where like what's going on with Japanese advertisements, that kind of video. Because it's a game with no words anywhere really, and you're a god hand from the sky coming down, and you're like grabbing seeds and just pushing them into the ground, and they with a finger, and they turn into a tree, and you like do this almost masturbatory animation on the tree to whittle it into being a rocket, and you're trying to figure out how to make rockets take off, and like all these. It's something about its animation is so bizarre and nonsensical.
Wasn't there a weird game that you had played with hands that were like touching each other?
Oh, Plug and Play.
It's also a photorealistic hand in a cartoon game.
Sounds
like Terry Gilliam.
That's really off-putting.
Plug and Play does not count, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think overall though, April Fool's Day was pretty low-key this year.
It was super mild.
Yeah.
What bugged me was there was a bunch of like political headlines that I was like, that can't be like I don't want to get into the politics of it, but
they were.
Like I've been following politics a lot lately, and a lot of the headlines yesterday were like, wait, what?
They sounded like Onion headlines, but they were real.
Yeah, and then I was just like, okay, I gotta put this away because
I will say I've been following politics. Last week was like a lot of
It's been a weird roller coaster this past month.
But anyway, that's about all we'll say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually bamboozled by, I think it was one that was like a year or two ago. I was, reading the morning news and stuff, and somehow I'd come across, like, Disney acquires the rights to Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What? I was like running around the house, and I'm like, Dad, Disney may have bought Star Trek. And he's like, what?
She called me.
Then they would own Star Wars and Star Trek. And I'm like, it would be like if they bought Disney.
She called me
as
to
well.
freak out about this, and I'm
They've
like,
already been directed by the same person.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it was on multiple sites, too, so I didn't know if it was all of them colluding with one another, or if one grabbed it from the other, believing it was truth, and it just spread.
So, actually, the one really cool April Fool's thing, as far as I'm concerned, is Rick and Morty Season 3 coming out yesterday.
That was kind of cool, but so douchey.
Why?
Because they didn't show the Samurai Jack episode.
Oh.
Yeah, so they aired a Rick and Morty Season 3 premiere during Samurai Jack's time slot, and then didn't air a Samurai Jack episode at all that night.
Oh.
So the Samurai Jack community was like the Samurai Jack community that likes Rick and Morty thought it was awesome. The Samurai Jack community that does not like Rick and Morty was furious.
Much awaited revival of a long dead franchise.
Yeah.
Oh, there was Netflix Live.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I heard
weird.
Wait, what about Netflix?
Netflix Live, they had an actor. I don't remember which actor.
It was Will Arnett, the guy that plays BoJack Horseman.
Oh, okay.
And Batman from Lego movies.
Okay.
He was just standing around narrating his day, if I remember right.
Yeah, he's like, this is a chair.
Yeah, he let's played doing nothing. It was great.
He'd be like talking about like a copying machine. It was probably funny because he is a funny person.
Lemons.
I don't know.
Yep, so that's our April Fool's, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed because April Fool's fell on a Saturday, and I was looking forward to punking out all my coworkers, but I guess I'll have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
You just gotta punk out the internet.
Do you have another question?
We should have
we talked about this already? There's somebody. Ted's asking, "What's everyone's favorite films?"
that could go on forever.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about films. I mean, it's funny. Like he's like, "Y'all talk so much about video games. Why not spice it up?" I'm like, our entire previous run of podcasts was almost exclusively about movies for long durations of it.
Yeah,
and anime. I think we're on like a movie hiatus.
Yeah, well,
a little bit.
I've kind of been refusing to watch movies until they come out well after the fact, which kind of ruins it. But it's just like, I've found too many movies that I just don't like lately. So it's just been like, eh.
Many of my favorite movies are dirt old. So, I mean,
there's
not
another
dirt old,
Bird question.
Yay!
Got Omni Negro asking, did Bird ever play NetHack? And if so, how long to the first ascension?
Oh, yeah, we've talked a little bit, Omni and I, about NetHack, like maybe like a week ago or whatever. Are you three aware of what NetHack is?
I've played the shit out of NetHack.
I'm sure you have, yes.
What does NetHack look like? I mean, maybe
we played it on
it's tabletop, right?
No, NetHack is an ASCII game from
there's a
before
very
the internet.
There's a very real possibility I've played it in front of Shill and she has no idea.
Was it the one where you just input lines and it spits something out at you?
No.
Okay.
That's Zork.
Then what is it?
It's like it's like a roguelike, but it's from before computers had graphics, so to speak. Like it predates the internet. It's like probably as old as email is.
Looks like there's graphics mods though for it.
Did it print stuff out and you had to?
They released one with a graphic user interface recently on Steam, actually.
Okay, I accidentally unplugged my headphones, as I tend to do a lot.
We were just talking about there being a NetHack on, like they made like NetHack with graphics.
Yeah. So anyway, NetHack is built up entirely out of the ASCII character set. And it's actually really similar to a lot of the games that we were talking about at the start of the podcast, because NetHack builds up entirely on shared knowledge. So the depth of NetHack is infamous, where like you'll die if you kill a cockatrice, for example, and you put it in your inventory. You hang on to its corpse. If you are encumbered when you start the next zone, what happens is you trip down the stairs because you take the stairs to get down. If you have a cockatrice corpse in your inventory, you have a chance of dropping the cockatrice when you fall down the stairs and petrifying yourself. And there's examples like that all over the game.
Sounds like King's Quest Dicketry.
Yes. Where like just tiny little corner cases the developers thought of and then like coded into the game specifically to just add an air of realism to the whole thing. It's things like you can write down a sign that protects your stuff and protects your body from enemies to give yourself a little brief reprieve. But if you cast a blinding spell on that enemy, they can't see the sign that you write down, and then they can go through it anyway. Like, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Dwarf Fortressy levels of, like,
It is. It's like pretty similar.
It's like how a lot of recent games have added mechanics for, you've made your enemy wet, therefore they're susceptible to, electricity or other...
It actually is kind of similar to that sort of stuff. That's correct.
Or freezing. Oh, but if you use a fire, it's like Magicka, I think, pretty much. You know, if you use a fire spell, you dry them off. Whee!
Yeah, so stuff like that is kind of all over the place in this game. And the other interesting thing about NetHack is that it's really, really hard. And it's one of those games where when you die, you start over. Your progress is eliminated, except for what you learned about it and like what skills you picked up in that run and what to look out for and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's like about 20 levels long, and if you're good at the game, you can beat it in like an hour. But it takes like years to learn the game deep enough to actually beat it, and I'm not exaggerating. If you use the wiki, if you play alongside with like a wiki open on your second monitor and you look up every single thing that you run into, you'll probably beat it in about a year. But without the wiki, it takes probably about like 8 to 10 years to learn how to beat the game.
Whoa! With how much practice a day?
That's just horrifying.
You play it like an hour a day, 2 hours a day. You can probably beat it in about 5 to 8 years.
I would play it at the hospital I worked at while rendering videos, and I think I only made it as far as like level 7.
Is it at least entirely turn-based? Like you don't. There's no.
It is turn-based.
No reflex.
So you have time. You have time to think about everything. Yeah. According to Omni, it took him 2 years to beat it when he played it, and Omni is old as shit. Just kidding. I love you, Omni, but I'm gonna give you shit here for it because you give everyone shit all the time.
Though, to play with like a giant, with like a whole group of people.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that Omni played it when like wikis didn't exist. So and, like when the internet was like kind of a brand new thing. So yeah.
I kind of want another thing where a bunch of people sit down and try to solve something together.
The sound of
I kind of had fun with that with the Frog Fractions too.
Yeah.
If we ever want to do a if we ever want to do like a NetHack like group thing,
a race, so you can make it to the third level the fastest.
I'd be down.
You'd probably win.
I was thinking more cooperative.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty fun too.
Like let's all try to figure this out collaboratively.
Kinda, but I mean the audience for people that would want to see that is tiny.
If we played the ones,
you never know until you try.
I don't think NetHack is really an SEO hotspot right now.
Yeah.
Sort of like there's a certain point where like even if it's not like a particularly great for SEO, a lot of people will watch it anyway just because like, hey, that looks interesting.
Factorio.
Yeah, sometimes it's just people watch it because it's a weird project.
Also, if you're one of the only people that's ever covered something, you can still get...
Yeah.
Oh, NetHack is very famous. I'm sure there's tons of videos on YouTube already. NetHack, well, I mean, NetHack is one of the... It was a freeware game, and it was just, like, handed around on floppy disks on college campuses.
Just like, one of those things that a lot of people just knew about, like RuneScape.
Yeah. Everybody who was into, like, computers in, like, 1988 or whatever, or was on, like, a college campus using, like, the old, like, shit like that, whatever the thing before the World Wide Web, whatever you want to call that, the internet, like, they probably played NetHack. Anyway, what I was trying to say is the furthest I've ever gotten NetHack is, like, level 6. And this took me, like, 8 months to get to. And then I was like, I have other things I want to do with my life.
My personal recommendation is I'd probably rather play Caves of Cud first.
Yeah, that's a much simpler game.
Caves of Cud?
Not really. Caves of Cud is pretty damn complicated and has like weird shit. They added a playable door race lately, which I mean is a little bit...
Is it full of regurgitated vegetable matter?
No.
Ew.
That's what Cud is.
QUD. Shell. QUD.
Okay.
But Caves of Cud...
It's also spelled QUAVES.
Vast?
Caves of Cud.
What the hell was that?
Just all the C's are replaced by Q's.
Anyway.
I'm following the explanation I've been given so far. I've been applying it to the rest of the title. Not that complicated.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of old, like, really good roguelikes.
I was a console peasant in that era, so I never knew about any of it. Like, I started playing PC games with Diablo 2.
I
consider that a roguelike, but everyone a lot of people get pissy if you do that.
I would not.
If you're playing it in permadeath with its randomized level design and everything, it kind of functions like one.
Yeah, it does. A hardcore mode Diablo 2 is actually like basically a roguelike in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see it.
Loot's random,
people
levels
will
are random.
Piss at you for saying roguelike
Well,
as
yeah,
opposed to
because
roguelite.
that's like saying like, no, it's black death metal, not death sludge metal.
What was I?
It's melodic grunge metal.
That's not even a thing.
It is now.
Oh.
The way that metal genres work is the moment you think of them, you can then type them into a search bar and find existing cases of them, which literally didn't exist till that moment, but are somehow dated back to 2007.
I think it's really interesting. When I was still working at like a fabric store a while ago, a guy came up and he had like long flowing blonde hair and like was wearing like the high-heeled pump boots and stuff. And he was getting like faux leather. I'm like, hey, what are you going to use this for? And he was actually part of like a glam rock band. And they were actually pretty cool. And all the guys were, you know, highly effeminate and had the very long hair and the makeup and stuff. I'm just like, you haven't really seen much of like glam rock and glam metal. That's got to be a rich
person's hobby. Are you kidding me? God damn.
Huh? Glam metal.
Like, you got to have a lot of money to be like, oh yes, I'm going to be in like a local glam rock band.
I don't know. It wasn't. I wish I remember the name of the band because I had actually seen their YouTube videos and stuff, but now it
turns
just
out it was Oxbow.
Me.
Oh god, if it was Oxbow.
Oxbow? I haven't heard of them.
Oh, that's good. Oxbow is really terrible. Oxbow is like they're kind of like glam rock, sort of. Not really, but.
Anyway, like whenever there's like a local band that's a callback to an older type of music is always like they usually have really derivative names like the Ballroom Blitzers or something. Like what's that? There's like a Beatle cover band that is just straight up like named after a lyric of a Beatles song or a name of a Beatles song or something. Like that's just the go-to.
Yeah, those are a specific thing like cover bands that you know you pay to play at weddings or bar mitzvahs or whatever the hell you need them for. We got way off of the beaten path with this.
I don't even remember where we were, but I'm just going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question, Bird.
Next, what? Another question for Bird?
Well, no, okay. I'm making a question.
Oh,
I'm calling you out, Bird, in that I just want you to explain something because you mentioned it here and there. Why do you hate season 2 of Morty, or Rick and Morty?
Why are you in my chat?
You've said it multiple times, and you've reminded me now of this, but you keep repeating this over and over again.
What I don't like about season 2 of Rick and Morty is that, and okay, so there are a lot of fans out there that love this show, and I don't want to say like that you're a bad person for liking this show,
but they are.
Or like this isn't an attack on you. Dear God, that's how it always is. But my personal opinion is that I don't like the show very much in season 2 after like episode 3 or 4. Because I feel like it tries to derive all of a sudden like this huge amount of emotional depth with characters that I don't feel have any depth to them for me to really sympathize with. Like, a big plot point is that basically it's like Rick is abandoning his family again, and I don't care enough about Beth, Rick, or Morty in an emotional level to actually give a shit about that. And I guess what really bothers me is that a lot of people play that up as like this is like so good, and I can think of so many other examples of shows which do tackle serious issues like that in more effective ways. And that's basically the kernel of why I don't like season 2. That, and I became a major hard ass on that show as soon as they recycled the intergalactic TV concept again.
Oh, right.
Like that,
when they did the clip show twice.
Destroyed that show for me. That killed any momentum of love I had for that show.
Is it primarily like a show that features humor and just like slapstick
comedy? The first season is definitely like kind of humor and intellectual weirdness.
Because unfortunately, I don't really watch much of the like comedy cartoons anymore. I just.
So watching Rick and Morty at first, it felt like I was watching Futurama made on Adult Swim.
Yeah, that's a fairly good way of putting it. I described it as like a weird, demented version of Doctor Who.
Yeah, because it's got the general concepts of like jumping around and dealing with really weird, crazy concepts and being like manically funny, but also getting depressing every other episode. And just having a punch that doesn't get pulled.
I think that a problem was that I was watching BoJack Horseman alongside Rick and Morty season 2, and BoJack Horseman does that sort of concept really, really well, and Rick and Morty, I feel like it insists that it's more deep than it actually is.
I've realized that I watch comedies.
It's a really, really
sad.
pretentious sentence, but that's basically how I feel about it.
I've reached a weird point where I don't watch sad movies or anything like that, really, but I watch comedies to be sad. So I watch, like, Rick and Morty and BoJack Horseman and Louie. Like Louis C.K. or Louie or whatever the name of that show is.
I mean, comedy is meant to make you think. That's the classic definition, anyway. So yeah, that's why I don't like season 2 of Rick and Morty. I don't know if that really adequately answered your question. So the thing is, I can't really speak too much about it because I forget, because I wrote that show off like, you know, I formed those opinions like 2 years ago, and I haven't watched the show in a long time.
Yeah,
if I were to watch it again, I'd be able to.
Even.
Yeah, if I watch it again, I'd probably be able to explain like this is actually why I don't like it. And so that's kind of why I threw out the big disclaimer of like the starts, because I'm not fresh at all on why I don't like it, and I feel like if I don't prepare my argument beforehand, people will rightly figure out like why it's not a particularly good one, and I'm totally going to acknowledge that because I don't have it like I wasn't.
It's fine. Just accept that they've already all been personally insulted.
I've been on this here internets for a long time, and I know that a lot of people get pissed off if you criticize anything. Oh no.
That's one thing I will say about going back to Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm kind of glad that people can criticize it without just immediately going into like shitting all over it. But there's a lot of games that I still like I have covered, and I'm like clearly not enjoying it. Like I'm fairly explicit about not liking Fury, and I still get a bunch of people being like, why don't you like this game? It's amazing. I'm like, because I don't enjoy this gameplay. And, like, I'm trying to be really careful with Rain World and how I, like, speak while playing it, because it's like, I don't hate the experience, but there's definitely, like, so many problems with it that, like, I'm actively, like, having a ton of trouble enjoying playing it, because it's just such a... It's a game that you need Stockholm Syndrome to beat, almost. And, like, it's hard to commentate over it because I'm, like, angry because I'm not having fun half the time. And I wish that they'd, like, throw me a bone or two. And, like, I know if I normally would try and explain that, people would just be like, get good or whatever. And it's just like...
Well, that's the thing. Is, are there adequate enough incentives? Like, are there checkpoints or places where you actually do feel rewarded for your hard-earned progress? Or is it just...
Are we still talking Rain World here?
Yes.
No.
Well, that would make it more difficult to get through. Yeah, you don't really get anything
for it. It's like, you get to the next save point, you get to do the next section. That's it. You don't get new powers. You don't get new skills, really.
And, I mean, to be fair, we grew up...
Even like a dream. Like, you go to bed all the time. Why isn't there like a dream at every new stage?
Well, there are dreams every once in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, they're not really payoffs. It's just like... I had one recently that is just like, by the way, your family's dead. And I'm just like, what? No, what?
Kicking you while you're literally down.
Yep.
I don't know. It's hard to be on the internet and, like, speak about things... like your own opinions without getting ripped to shreds, and I guess it like kind of makes sense. Other people have opinions. I guess that also
I just buckle up.
They're just wrong and they're stupid for having them, and they're bad people.
I just like after Fury and that Homeworld remake or successor or whatever. It's just I cannot have negative opinions about a thing. If I don't like a game, I just don't make the video anymore, and that's just how it's turned out to be.
Probably saves you a lot of time.
I like criticizing things because I really, really hate the enthusiast side of YouTube. That's all about smiles and bright colors and loving everything, and basically being a part of every company's PR arm.
Yeah, I guess for me it's just a bother because half the time when I speak negatively about a game, it does well. So it's just like Fury or Abduction.
That really weird contradiction where you're like, the video that you feel miserable about becomes like your most popular video.
Yes.
Oh, I know, and you definitely got inflamed before by people like, I don't like listening to this. It's just you complaining.
I still get hate comments on like half of my Fallout videos because everybody's just like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He should have done research beforehand. It's just like,
why won't he leave Sanctuary?
Yeah, to be a little fair about the whole thing, like that's not even really your fault. It's not even a matter of your opinion or anything. Like, I get so much shit all the time for my Wasteland 2 playthrough, a game I am neither playing incompetently nor actively criticizing. It's just, it's my most popular video, so it's just, like, I get so many, like, shitty comments.
Oh, yeah, I get that with Shadow
just,
Tactics, actually.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, I can't handle how many times he has to, like, die and reload. And I'm like, that's the
premise
point
of the game.
It actively has a timer for how long it's been since you last saved.
And the guy that's it's because your most popular videos have the most outsiders, and the more outsiders you have in the video, the more people are not going to like your video just in general because they're not part of your audience, which is how you get people like the guy that's like, you never played Commandos, fucking kill yourself, and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like I was really disappointed in a comment at one point because like we were going through Sonic Unleashed and criticizing it like hell, like it deserves, and his response, someone's comment was, dude, please don't let's play games you don't like. I actually used to like Sonic. This one isn't very good for sure, but you're laughing at my childhood. I really don't like that. Maybe other people really don't like it either. Please take the time to look at any of Zach Scott Gaming's YouTube files. Look at the way he talks to his subscribers. Look at his view numbers. And like he'd like saying to be that person.
I absolutely hate it whenever somebody's just like, you don't get a whole lot of views, therefore your opinions.
Like look at this smiley guy. Go be him instead of who you are. Because I don't like it when you insult my childhood, and I don't have the self-control to choose what I watch.
That is weird. That is a weird.
It's
ran to a weird person who left a weird comment.
It's disappointing, is what it is for a comment like that. Like, I make my thing, other people make their thing, and you can watch the one you like, and that's the whole thing. Yeah.
No.
A YouTuber I was a fan of recently, decided to kind of, I'm not going to say sell out, but he decided, I think I'm going to switch gears and like do the really highly edited, like aiming for kids kind of stuff recently.
And thumbnails that are going to have a cut out of their face looking shocked or something. Yep. And big colorful title letters.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he's switched over to that. And I've been listening to him talk now because, he's in one of the Discords that I'm in, and it's interesting just how like cynical his content and he as a person has become. So like he was talking about Has Been Heroes, a game that I'm actually rather enjoying despite its flaws, and he's just like, I really like this game, but nobody seems to watch it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. And I'm just like, I mean, I guess I do the same thing, but like he did one episode. That's like zero time to get to know or enjoy a game. And the more I hear people about like switching over to that kind of content, I'm just like, man, I could never do that. And
we both have access to a YouTuber Discord thing with a lot of channels in it, and the cynicism that flows through that is fascinating to look at sometimes.
It's
and
mercenary.
You know what? A lot of them are very successful. So
I know a lot.
They're not wrong, but I hate it. I hate the way they think.
Also adopted by a number of artists. I noticed that the comment comes up every once in a while for people asking what they should sell at artist alleys, and obviously there's like a lot of discussion about fan art and such and anime stuff. Yeah. So people always go, I really like drawing this or that, but this seems to be popular. Should I be doing this instead? And there's the argument of, do you do what's you and maybe what's original, even if it doesn't sell as well? Or do you cop out and be like, oh, I'm going to just do like the most popular character from the most popular series? And, but it it's something that you spend hours and hours of time and dedication into, and I can't imagine.
It's always a weird compromise, because like on some level we're all doing something or changing something for the sake of some kind of audience. Like even you, like you have like a DeviantArt or a YouTube or like something that things are supposed to get submitted to, and you're trying to make things that other people will look at, is like the basic premise on some level. So like the cynical elements are kind of natural because they're part of one of the goals of the thing.
Yeah,
and on some level, like none of us talk while playing video games normally. Like on some level, we're changing ourselves and not doing what's natural to do the show or the thing. But there's like a line on how much you want to fake it, basically, is on some level. Because like people, I could just see straight through like the fake enthusiasm on so many YouTube channels that it actually like hurts to watch.
Yep.
And those people,
it's especially weird to like listen to their enthusiasm and then like slightly later see them. Well, yeah, and then slightly later seeing them all be like, "Yeah, that game wasn't very good," and I'm just like,
"Yeah, it's the Chris Hardwick effect."
And that just makes you wonder about, is anyone ever really genuine? I mean, I know that people put on masks when they're amongst various friend groups and stuff. Like, you should see how like giddy and weird Wander gets playing with you guys. And
well, part of the fact is like,
feel bad. I'm like, am I not funny?
Off camera, I'm tired and subdued.
Am I? Yeah, I know.
Also, you don't make dumb butt jokes.
No, I don't.
I mean, off camera, jokes. I'm a very, very disciplined and like stern person, and like you have no idea if you watch me on stream and stuff that like off camera I'm actually like a very, very, very strict person. Like, I'm like, no, this is my piano time. Nobody can talk to me during my piano time. Or like, this is my drawing hour. I must draw, and nobody can talk to me during this time. Or I get really pissy.
I need drawing hours.
You have drawing hours. It's whenever when I'm not working.
Well, lately I've just been doing a lot of editing and formatting and printing and...
Yeah, every once in a while, show's like, you need to give me more time to do art. And I'm like, what?
Well, it always seems to be the inconvenient thing of the days that I'm ready and rearing to go. Then you're like, oh yeah, we need to record
and that's
this.
when you need to go shopping.
Yeah, shopping or recording or whatever. Yeah, no, it's very constant.
I find that, at least in these podcasts, I'm pretty much the way I am when I'm with other people and like just overly talkative to the point of being obnoxious. When it's just me on my own, I don't know. I say weird things and start going on tangents, and you go, Michelle, I get it, stop. And I go, oh.
She will tell me stories that she's told me before.
I know.
A lot.
I know, I'm sorry. I just like telling stories. But otherwise, I'm getting gray hair. I'm very stressed as of late, and I
could just be natural.
Been getting more of them. Well, my great grandmother did go completely like silvery white, but that was because she was sick and with like pneumonia and stuff back in
a bad case of the death
in the Great Depression. Yeah, she nearly died. So I don't know what occurred. It must have been something to do with the melanin production, but yeah, she had just had that. She had like the silver hair that you see in anime. With typically like the cool, we had this discussion. What was the character that I was looking for? The description?
Anderson Cooper?
It wasn't, it was like the Dare or something else.
Didgeridoo?
There were the different like tsundere, Dare types.
Oh.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, in any case.
I've just got a thing where I just like to talk.
Hair.
Like when I go to record Sonic or whatever shitty game we're playing for SAD every week, I end up like we record like 2 or 3 hours maybe, and then like I'm sitting there in Andrew's kitchen talking to him and Joe, and then suddenly it's 3 a.m. and we're talking for like 4 hours doing nothing.
All right, we got 2 minutes.
Oh.
So What gross story should we end tonight on?
Got 2 minutes, like we have an exact ending time.
I mean, I think I just said I'm a very strict person, and I noticed that we're coming on 2 hours, and I've like mentally associated like this is a 2-hour activity. Makes sense. Then we're going to do Dark Souls for 2 more hours.
Secretly, all of your scrap mechanic sessions have been pre-scheduled with exact moments where for timestamps where all the punchlines have to come out.
Shit, are you kidding me? I wish it was that well. I would love if it was that well tight. All right, yeah, gross story. Wander got one.
I have one.
Good. Great. I'm glad. Oh no.
Oh, I never talked about Zelda, did I?
So,
next time, Keith. Next time.
Okay.
2 hours, Keith.
Though actually, I want to tell this gross story because it was like someone died, and it was a video on the news.
What?
Of their corpse.
Their corpse made the news.
Okay, Shell, just tell the story. You've
Okay, so it was in Indonesia, and a 25-year-old man was missing in the palm tree paddies, or a farm. They were like farming for palm oil. And a huge python, about like 20-some feet long, was found, quite engorged. And they slit it open, and you could see the guy's legs and torso in there. Fortunately, he was face down, but he had been swallowed by it. And like villagers had said that they'd heard screams in the night, but they didn't, get up and do anything. And
I made this a tradition, ironically. I didn't realize that you were going to all call my bluff every time.
So to steal the slogan from Dear John and Hank, this is a comedy podcast about death.
That's what happens when you step on Snake.
Snakes step on you.
Wander's mom has some weird thing where...
In Indonesia, snakes step on you. They don't even have legs.
They step on you with their internals.
Ew. All right.
I don't even know how are they fast?
It's like a starfish, how they stick out, their stomach comes out of their body and it goes back in with you in it.
Are reptiles fast at all?
It'd be terrible if there was an alien like that in some kind of video game.
We don't need aliens, they're in real life.
Yeah, I was going to say, they also exist because they're snakes.
There's so many real life creatures whose stomachs come out of their mouths and consume you, and then they go back in their body.